Hello, dear members of the Soul Stories family. Today we will bring you a romantic love story, so let's get started. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any meaningful stories. New York at night is a dazzling canvas of lights, but in the upscale Pulse nightclub, the atmosphere explodes with flickering neon and pulsating electronic music that shakes the dance floor. This is the playground of the elite, where $100 cocktails are raised to mask fake smiles. Nathaniel Nate Whitmore sits in the VIP corner, his piercing blue eyes scanning the crowd like ice. At 32, he's the CEO of Whitmore Enterprises, a billion-dollar financial empire. But tonight, he's not here for business. He's here to forget his pain and to start a plan for revenge. Nate grips his whiskey, memories of the engagement party 3 months ago flooding back like a stab. He stood in the opulent ballroom of the Plaza Hotel, his tailored black suit hugging his tall frame, a glass of champagne trembling in his hand as Victoria, his longtime fiancée, took the stage. He thought she'd announce their wedding date. Instead, she grabbed the hand of his business rival, a smug smile on her lips. "Who do you think you are, Nate?" she said, her voice sharp as a blade. "A powerful CEO? But you couldn't even keep my heart." His rival, with a sinister grin, added, "Whitmore Enterprises will probably crumble as fast as your love life." The laughter of the elite crowd echoed, each chuckle a dagger to Nate's pride. Those who once flattered him now turned their backs, mocking him as a failure. From that moment, Nate swore to make New York's high society regret underestimating him. Tonight, he's at Pulse with a crazy plan. Marry a woman beneath their class to humiliate that fake world. A wife who doesn't belong to their ranks, unaware of their unspoken rules, would be the perfect way to prove he doesn't need them to be happy. But she has to be extraordinary, enough to make all of New York turn heads. That's when he sees her. She stands in the middle of the dance floor, her platinum hair shimmering under the lights, a tight black leather dress accentuating her perfect curves. She dances, not for attention, but as if the world doesn't exist. The crowd around her stares, whispering, but she doesn't care. Her smile is defiant, as if she's challenging every judgmental gaze. Nate raises an eyebrow, a rare curiosity stirring. Who is she? Not a rich heiress, not a model or actress. The usual types here. She's an enigma, and Nate, who always controls everything, feels drawn in. He signals the nightclub manager, a middle-aged man with sharp eyes. "Who's the platinum-haired girl?" Nate asks, his voice low. The manager shrugs. "No one knows much. She's been here a few times, calls herself Sam. No identity, no background. Just pays in cash and always leaves alone." Nate's lips curl. Perfect. A woman outside his world, unattached, calculating nothing. She's the piece he needs. He stands, adjusts his suit collar, and weaves through the crowd toward her. The music shifts to a slower beat, and she, Sam, stops dancing, heading to the bar for a martini. Nate stops in front of her, his gaze locking onto her sparkling brown eyes. "Can I buy you a drink?" he asks, his tone even, but his eyes betraying curiosity. Sam smirks, raising her freshly served martini. "Thanks, but I can handle it." She winks, her tone playful. "Besides, you don't seem like the type to offer drinks without wanting something, right? Mr. Whitmore?" Nate pauses, slightly surprised. "You know me?" He arches an eyebrow, his interest growing. Sam shrugs, a mischievous smile playing on her lips. "Who in New York doesn't know Nathaniel Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Enterprises? But don't worry, I'm not a fangirl." She sips her martini, her eyes teasing. "So, what do you want from me?" Nate doesn't beat around the bush. He leans in, his voice low and firm. "I want you to marry me." Sam chokes, coughing a few times before bursting into laughter. "Oh my God, are you drunk? Or is this some reality TV stunt?" But Nate's serious gaze stops her laughter. "You're serious?" she asks, her voice softening, eyes searching. "Completely serious," Nate replies. "1 year, a contract marriage. You'll live in luxury, money, travel, anything you want. In return, you play my perfect wife in public. After a year, we go our separate ways, no strings attached." Sam studies him, her eyes glinting with curiosity and amusement. "And why would I agree? A stranger? A contract? A fake marriage? Don't you think I'd be scared? She tilts her head, her half-smile daring. Nate smirks, his gaze unwavering. You're not scared of me, Sam. I saw how you stood on that dance floor, looking at this world like it's beneath you. You're the one I need. Sam goes quiet, her fingers tapping lightly on her martini glass. All right, she says, her voice soft but confident. But I have conditions. I want parties, travel, and to wear hot outfits the whole time I'm your fake wife. And you don't interfere with my life. Deal? Nate looks at her, a rare smile breaking on his face. Deal. He extends his hand and Sam takes it, their handshake firm like a vow. But neither knows that this handshake isn't just the start of a contract, it's the first step toward a love that will change them both forever. So, Mr. Whitmore, Sam says, winking as she stands, martini still in hand, sign the contract and I'll show you what a fun hell looks like. She turns, striding back to the dance floor, her platinum hair gleaming under the lights. Nate watches her, his heart, though he won't admit it, stirring with an unfamiliar beat. In the flickering glow of pulse, a wild deal has been struck, setting off a story full of chaos, humor, and true love. Nathaniel Nate, Whitmore's Manhattan penthouse, with its floor-to-ceiling windows opening to New York's twinkling skyline, was once a fortress where he hid his wounded heart behind an invisible wall. But since Samantha Sam Rivers stepped in, the cold space has been infused with a whirlwind of color. Within a week, the living room blazed with pink and blue neon lights strung across the walls like a miniature nightclub. Every evening, Sam's Bluetooth speaker blasted the Strokes rock anthems, jolting Nate, the icy CEO of Whitmore Enterprises, out of bed, his dark hair disheveled, his glare sharp enough to freeze the city. What do you think this is, Samantha? He growled, standing at the living room doorway, his rumpled sleep shirt making him seem more human than ever. A concert in Brooklyn? Sam, bouncing on the sofa with a glass of wine, spun around, her platinum hair glinting under the lights. She winked, her grin as mischievous as a child's. Oh, grumpy Mr. CEO. This is our home for a year, remember? Relax. You need some music to melt that ice in you. She cranked the volume, laughing louder as Nate snatched the remote from her hand, shutting off the music with a look that could kill. But that was just the beginning. Nate married Sam to humiliate New York's elite, to prove he didn't need the fake world that mocked him when Victoria betrayed him. He thought she'd be a pliable tool, a perfect piece of his revenge plan. But Sam, with her sharp wit and carefree attitude, was turning his life into a game where he wasn't sure he held the upper hand. Sam had a knack for making Nate lose control, and she did it with terrifying ease. One morning, while Nate was in a virtual meeting with shareholders from his home office, Sam sauntered in, wearing an oversized t-shirt and shorts, holding a latte. She raised an eyebrow when she saw the pretty assistant, Emily, place a coffee in front of Nate. "What's this, Mr. Whitmore?" Sam asked, crossing her arms, her tone playfully indignant. "I step out for 5 minutes and someone's already bringing you coffee? Who's she?" Nate, mid-Zoom with dozens of eyes on him, froze. "She's just an employee," he stammered, his face flushing, feeling flustered for the first time in his life. Emily stifled a laugh, leaving the room, while Sam shrugged, tossing him a wink. "Just kidding, Grumpy, but you're cute when you panic." The shareholders on the screen chuckled, and Nate, though he glared at her, couldn't hide the slight curve of his lips. Sam had turned a serious meeting into a moment that made him feel alive. She kept pushing his limits. One evening, Sam appeared in the living room with red-rimmed eyes, her voice trembling. "You don't even remember what today is, do you?" she said, flopping onto the sofa, hugging a pillow like an abandoned child. "I know this contract is fake, but you could at least care a little." Nate, who always controlled everything, panicked. Her birthday? An anniversary? He knew nothing about her beyond the name Sam and that provocative smile. Not wanting her to cry, he called his assistant, frantically ordering a massive cake from Magnolia Bakery and a bouquet of red roses from Manhattan's priciest florist. When the cake arrived, Sam looked up, her tears gone, replaced by a sly grin. "Oh my God, you actually fell for it?" She burst out laughing, wiping away fake tears. I was joking, but keep the cake. I'm starving. Nate stood dumbfounded, torn between anger and amusement. You're a nightmare, he muttered, but he sat down, cutting the cake with her. When Sam smeared frosting on his nose, laughing hysterically, Nate retaliated, turning the living room into a frosting battlefield. Their laughter echoed, warming the once frigid penthouse for the first time. The most memorable moment came when Sam challenged Nate to cook. You're a CEO, but can you do anything besides sign contracts? She teased, winking, standing in the kitchen with a goofy cat-printed apron. Nate, refusing to be underestimated, accepted the challenge, though he hadn't touched a pan since college. The result was a disaster. He burned the pan trying to fry eggs, smoke triggering the fire alarm's piercing wail. Sam, instead of getting mad, doubled over laughing, tears streaming from joy. You're a genius at destruction, she shouted, snapping a photo of the chaotic kitchen and posting it to the company's internal network with the caption, Grumpy Mr. CEO versus the Egg Battle. Nate's employees, usually intimidated by his cold stare, saw their boss's human side for the first time. They messaged in the group chat, the boss with a wife is a whole different guy. When Nate discovered the post, he growled, You'll pay for that photo, Samantha. But Sam just shrugged, nibbling on a piece of burnt egg from the pan. Not bad, Nate. Next time, try baking. I want to see you burn the oven. Nate shook his head, but his eyes, despite his efforts to hide it, sparkled with a joy he couldn't explain. Despite Nate's attempts to keep his distance, Sam was slowly creeping into his heart through genuine moments. One afternoon, Sam learned that one of Nate's longtime employees, Henry, had been in an accident and couldn't work. She dragged Nate to the hospital, ignoring his reluctance. You're the boss, but you're also human, right? She said, her rare, serious gaze devoid of playfulness. Nate thought showing up would suffice, but at the hospital, he saw Sam sitting beside Henry's wife, holding her hand, listening to her talk about their hardships with a sincerity he'd never seen in Victoria or anyone in high society. He'll be okay, Sam told her, her voice warm as sunlight. And if you need anything, call me, anytime. Henry's wife wiped her tears, thanking Sam profusely. Nate stood at the door, watching Sam, realizing for the first time that she wasn't just a rebellious girl with platinum hair. She had a heart he'd never noticed, and it unsettled him. On the drive back, he asked quietly, Why did you do that? You didn't have to care about them. Sam shrugged, staring out the car window. Because it's the right thing. You don't need a reason to do what's right, Nate. Her words echoed in him, shaking the walls he'd built around his heart. Another time, returning from an elite party in the Upper East Side, a sudden downpour caught them off guard. Nate, always prepared, had forgotten an umbrella. Sam laughed wildly, grabbing his hand and running through the rain on Fifth Avenue. Run, grumpy Mr. CEO, she shouted, her platinum hair soaked and clinging to her cheeks, her glittering gown dripping. They took shelter in a small corner cafe, drenched but glowing. Sam shook out her hair like a dog, splattering water everywhere. Sometimes no plan is more fun, she said, her radiant smile and sparkling brown eyes like the streetlights. Nate watched her, rain dripping from his hair, and for the first time, his heart stirred not for revenge, but for Sam herself. You're really one of a kind, he mumbled, so low she didn't hear. But his eyes, softer than ever, said it all. They sat there ordering 2 hot coffees, chatting about silly things, from Sam's music tastes to Nate never trying a food truck burger. In that moment, amid New York's rain, they weren't strangers bound by a contract. They were Nate and Sam, and something was blooming. Sam, with her effortless charm, always drew attention, and it drove Nate crazy, though he wouldn't admit it. One night at a Soho bar, Nate saw her laughing with the bartender, who'd made her a special mojito with a charming smile. Nate, a few seats away, his face like stone. When Sam returned, he pulled her to a corner, his voice low. What were you doing with that guy? Trying to charm all of New York? Sam burst out laughing, clutching her chest dramatically. Oh my God, you're actually jealous? It was just a mojito, grumpy Mr. CEO. But you're adorable when you're jealous. She winked, leaving Nate both fuming and unable to stay mad. He turned away, muttering, I'm not jealous. But the slight curve of his lips betrayed him. The climax came when Mark, a male colleague from Nate's marketing team, invited Sam to dinner after a meeting. "Just a friendly dinner," Mark said with a charming smile. Sam, always up for a tease, agreed to see Nate's reaction. That night at an upscale Italian restaurant in Midtown, Nate stormed in, his eyes blazing like a storm. Without a word, he pulled Sam from her chair and kissed her in front of the entire restaurant, deep and fierce, as if the world had vanished. When he let her go, he declared, his voice low but resonant, "My wife doesn't have time to dine with anyone but me." The restaurant erupted in applause, while Sam, cheeks flushed, grinned mischievously. "Oh, grumpy Mr. CEO's jealous. I like it. Do it again." She stood on her toes, kissing his cheek lightly, making Nate, despite his attempt at coolness, break into a smile. The crowd cheered, but in that moment, Nate only saw Sam, the girl melting the ice in his heart. These moments, whether funny or sweet, were quietly changing Nate. He began noticing Sam more. Her infectious laugh, her dancing in the living room, the way she slipped cash to homeless people on the street. Sam, though still defiant, started feeling Nate's subtle gestures, how he pulled her close to shield her from the rain, or quietly draped his jacket over her when she fell asleep on the sofa. They were still strangers bound by a contract, but sweet cracks were forming, drawing them closer. Nate, though not admitting it, was starting to forget his revenge, and Sam, still hiding her true identity, began wondering if she could live true to her heart in Nate's world. New York, with its ever-burning lights, was witnessing a love story blooming, even if neither was ready to name it. Manhattan in April carries a gentle charm, with spring breezes sweeping through the avenues, carrying the scent of blossoms from Central Park. In Nathaniel Nate Whitmore's penthouse, the pink and blue neon lights Sam Rivers strung up still shimmer, no longer a symbol of rebellion, but now a mark of a budding relationship. Nate, the stoic CEO of Whitmore Enterprises, once saw Sam as a pawn in his plan to exact revenge on New York's elite. But after 3 months of living together, her radiant smiles, her infuriating teasing, and her genuine moments have made Nate realize his heart is straying. He no longer thinks of Victoria or the humiliation of the past. He only thinks of Sam, the girl with platinum hair and eyes that challenge the world. But today, a secret hidden beneath Sam's carefree smile is about to unravel, pulling Nate into an emotional storm he didn't anticipate. On a Saturday morning, Sam drags Nate out of the penthouse to go grocery shopping, calling it a plebeian adventure to rescue him from boring Michelin star meals. "You can't keep living like an emperor," she says, winking, pulling him into a bustling Whole Foods in Union Square. Nate, in a black polo and jeans instead of his usual suit, glares at her, but follows, pushing the cart with endearing reluctance. He doesn't understand why he lets her drag him into such mundane tasks, but every time Sam laughs, he finds himself agreeing without reason. At the checkout, Sam rummages through her wallet to pay for a pile of snacks, from BBQ potato chips to gummy bears. In her haste, she drops a credit card onto the floor. Nate, quicker than her, picks it up. He's about to hand it back, but his eyes freeze when he sees the text. Rivers Corporation, Platinum Elite. The logo of Rivers Corporation, Asia's largest business empire, gleams under the store's lights. Nate, with his sharp CEO instincts, knows something's off. Sam, the self-proclaimed ordinary girl, shouldn't have a card reserved for the ultra-wealthy. "Where did you get this?" Nate asks, his voice low, eyes probing. Sam flinches, snatching the card back, but her smile falters briefly. A friend lent it to me," she says, her voice slightly shaky, though she quickly regains her defiant air. "What? Jealous I have rich friends?" Nate doesn't respond, but his eyes say he's not convinced. He quietly pays for the groceries, but his mind swirls with questions. Who is Sam? Why does she have a Rivers Corporation card? And why is she hiding it from him? That evening, in his home office, Nate opens his laptop and contacts his private investigation team. He doesn't want to doubt Sam, but a CEO's intuition won't let him ignore this. Within hours, an email arrives with a thick dossier. Nate reads, each line cutting like a knife. Samantha Rivers, 26, is no ordinary girl. She's the sole heiress of Rivers Corporation, a conglomerate owning hotels, airlines, and real estate worldwide. She once graced Forbes Asia, dubbed the Princess of Business, before vanishing from the public eye 2 years ago. Nate slams the laptop shut, his hands clenched, feeling betrayed again. Victoria deceived him, and now Sam, the girl he's falling for, has hidden a secret this big. He stands, striding to the living room, where Sam sprawls on the sofa, eating gummy bears and watching The Breakfast Club on Netflix. The neon lights reflect off her hair, making her look like a lost star. "Samantha Rivers," Nate says, his voice trembling with anger and hurt. "Who are you?" Sam bolts upright, gummy bears spilling to the floor. She looks at him, a flicker of panic in her eyes, but she quickly steadies herself. "Wow, you figured it out?" she says, shrugging, a half smile on her lips. "Nice work, Detective Whitmore." Nate steps closer, his gaze icy. "So you lied to me from the start? You're not some ordinary girl, not just Sam from nowhere. You're the heiress of Rivers Corporation, and you hid it from me for 3 months." He grabs her hand, his voice low but raw with emotion. "Why, Sam? I trusted you." Sam meets his gaze, her smile fading. She sighs, pulling her hand free and sinking onto the sofa. "We're even," she says, her voice soft but firm. "You married me for revenge. I married you to escape a marriage. Fair trade, right?" Nate freezes. "Escape a marriage?" he asks, his eyes confused. Sam nods, revealing the vulnerability she's kept hidden. "My family wanted me to get engaged to a wealthy but cruel man, a guy who saw me as a trophy to solidify his power. I couldn't stand it, so I ran. New York, the name Sam, this life, it's all so I could be free." Nate stares at her, his heart aching. He thought she deceived him for gain, but the truth is different. Sam didn't run for money or fame. She ran to protect herself. He sits beside her, his voice softer. "Why didn't you tell me? I could have helped you." Sam gives a sad smile, gazing out the window at Manhattan's twinkling lights. "Because I didn't want anyone to know. I didn't want to be Samantha Rivers, the Princess of Rivers Corporation. I just wanted to be Sam, the girl dancing in clubs, eating gummy bears, and arguing with you about rock music." She turns to him, her eyes shimmering. "And because I started to like living with you, Nate. If I told you, I was afraid everything would change." Nate takes her hand, their fingers interlocking tightly. "You think I'd let you go just because you're Samantha Rivers?" he asks, his voice trembling. "I don't care who you are to the world. I only care about you, my Sam." Sam looks at him, her eyes softening, as if the walls she built are crumbling. She says nothing, just rests her head on his shoulder, and in that moment, they're no longer strangers bound by a contract. They're Nate and Sam, two hearts finding each other amid New York's lights. From that night, Nate changes. He no longer sees Sam as part of his revenge plan. She's Samantha Rivers, but more importantly, she's Sam, the girl who makes him laugh, drives him crazy, and makes him want to live true to his heart. He starts doing things the CEO Nate Whitmore never did. One morning, he secretly places white daisies, Sam's favorite flower she once mentioned, around the penthouse. When Sam wakes, she stands amid the blooms, eyes wide, then turns to him, grinning brightly. "Where'd you learn this move, Grumpy? Points for effort." He doesn't answer, just watches her, his heart warmer than ever. "I wanted to see you smile," he says, and Sam's smile, brighter than the neon lights, is the greatest reward he's ever received. One evening, Nate secretly sets up an outdoor movie night on the penthouse rooftop. He rigs a large screen, spreads blankets, sets up a plush couch with pillows, and plays The Breakfast Club, Sam's favorite film. Sam, in a hoodie and jeans, sits beside him, clutching a bowl of popcorn, her eyes sparkling under the stars. "You did this just to make me smile?" she asks, her tone teasing, but her eyes soft. "No," Nate replies, looking into her eyes. "I did it because I want to see you happy." Sam goes quiet, then rests her head on his shoulder, for once not responding with a joke. Under Manhattan's sky, they sit in silence, but their hearts speak volumes. One night, as they lie on the sofa, the neon lights still glowing around the room, Sam opens up more. She talks about her days controlled by her family, her dream of being loved without the chains of fame or wealth. You know, she says, staring into the distance, freedom was the only thing I ever wanted. But living with you, I'm starting to think, maybe freedom isn't just about running. Nate takes her hand, their fingers locked tightly. Then don't run anymore, he says, his voice low but certain. Stay with me, Sam. She looks at him, her eyes shining like the city lights. I'll try, she whispers, and her smile, genuine and warm, is the most beautiful promise she's ever made. The truth about Sam doesn't destroy their relationship. It brings them closer, like two puzzle pieces that seem mismatched but fit perfectly together. Nate, who once vowed to avenge himself against the world, now only wants to protect the girl beside him, even if the world turns its back. Sam, who fled every tie, begins to wonder if she can stop running, to love and be loved in Nate's world. New York, with its ever-burning lights, witnesses a love blooming from the cracks of their pasts, and Nate knows that, whether she's Samantha Rivers or his Sam, she has become his entire world. Manhattan in May glows with sunlight, but in the heart of New York, a media storm is brewing, ready to sweep away everything in its path. Nathaniel Nate Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Enterprises, and Samantha Sam Rivers, the secret heiress of Rivers Corporation, have lived in a world of their own. Nights of laughter under neon lights, sweet moments in the rain, and silent promises in their gazes. But the truth about Sam's identity, while strengthening their love, has ignited a crisis neither anticipated. It all begins with a tabloid article in New York Gossip, headlined with sensational flair, CEO Whitmore weds Rivers heiress to manipulate finances. Published on a Wednesday morning, the story spreads like wildfire. It paints a dramatic tale. Nate, a ruthless CEO scarred by his fiancé's betrayal, tricked Samantha Rivers, heiress to Asia's largest business empire, into a contract marriage to consolidate power and seize Rivers Corporation's assets. Evidence: an anonymous source from high society, blurry photos of Nate and Sam at events, and a leaked marriage contract, a forged document crafted with suspicious precision. The news floods social media, from Twitter to Instagram, with hashtag Whitmore scandal trending within hours. Whitmore Enterprises stock plummets 15% in a day, sending shareholders into a frenzy, bombarding Nate with calls. His Midtown office becomes a war zone, assistants scrambling, phones ringing incessantly, and reporters swarming outside like vultures circling a corpse. Nate sits in his office, his piercing blue eyes darkening, clutching a printed copy of the article. He doesn't care about the slander against him. He's used to high society's duplicity. But when the article calls Sam a naive victim, an exploited girl, fury surges through him. Sam is no victim. She's the strongest woman he knows, and he won't let anyone tarnish her. Sam, in the penthouse, reads the article on her phone, scoffing. Financial manipulation? Creative, she mutters, tossing the phone onto the sofa. She's not surprised. Tabloids always spin tales for sales. But when her phone buzzes with a call from her father, Charles Rivers, she knows things are about to get worse. Sam receives a curt text from her mother. Come home now. We need to talk. No explanation, no concern. She knows the Rivers family, with their power and arrogance, won't let this scandal slide. Reluctantly, Sam flies to their estate in Greenwich, Connecticut, a grand mansion with stone walls and an atmosphere as cold as a tomb. In the vast living room, with an unlit fireplace and priceless antique paintings, her father, Charles Rivers, stands by the window, his posture rigid like a general. Her mother, Eleanor, sits in an armchair, hands clasped, eyes brimming with disappointment. Sam walks in, still in a hoodie and jeans, her platinum hair tousled, a declaration that she doesn't belong here. You've disgraced the family, Charles thunders, his voice echoing in the room. Marrying an ambitious CEO, letting him exploit the Rivers name? What do you think you're doing, Samantha? Sam stands tall, her gaze unwavering, fearless. I haven't disgraced anything, she replies, her voice calm but sharp. Nate isn't using me. We married for a contract, yes, but it was my choice. And now, I love him. Eleanor lets out a scornful laugh. Love? You think love will save you from the consequences? Rivers Corporation's stocks are wavering because of this scandal. Divorce him now, or you'll lose everything. Your inheritance, your reputation, everything. Sam looks at her mother, a flicker of sadness in her eyes. Mom, I'm not afraid of losing money or reputation. I'm afraid of living a life that's not mine, like you did. Her words cut like a knife, making Eleanor pale, her hands gripping the chair. Sam turns to her father, continuing, Nate isn't perfect, but he loves me for who I am, not because I'm Samantha Rivers. I choose him, and I won't regret it. Charles sighs, his gaze softening but still cold. You've chosen your path, but don't expect the family to save you if you fail. Sam nods, turning to leave, feeling the freedom she's chosen, though it comes at a steep cost. She steps out of the mansion, spring sunlight glinting off her hair, and for the first time, she knows she's no longer running. She's fighting for Nate, for love, and for herself. Back in New York, Sam faces another storm, her heart. The scandal doesn't just hurt Nate and his company, it puts her at a crossroads between her family and the man she loves. She knows staying with Nate means losing her family forever. People who, despite controlling her, are still her blood. But leaving means losing Nate, the man who made her believe love isn't a cage. Each night, lying on the penthouse sofa, she stares at the flickering neon lights, wondering if she's brave enough to choose an uncertain future. Nate, meanwhile, battles his own demons. He knows the scandal could destroy Whitmore Enterprises, the company he spent his life building. But losing Sam hurts more. He swore never to let anyone into his heart after Victoria, but Sam changed everything. She's not just his fake contract wife. She's the light in his darkness, and he can't imagine a day without her. One evening, Nate sits in his office, papers scattered, stocks still falling. He slumps over the desk, feeling powerless for the first time. He doesn't want to force Sam to stay, doesn't want her to choose between him and her family. He picks up his phone, types a message but doesn't send. If you want to go, I won't stop you, but I'll wait for you, no matter how long. He deletes it, sighing, unaware that Sam is standing at the door, watching him with eyes full of emotion. Sam steps into the office, Manhattan's lights casting a glow on her face, highlighting her shimmering brown eyes. She says nothing, just gently touches Nate's hand, her fingers cold yet warm. He looks up, his tired eyes brightening at the sight of her. Sam, he whispers, his voice hoarse. She sits beside him, still holding his hand tightly. Do you want me to stay? She asks, her voice trembling slightly. Even if you lose everything, your company, your reputation, everything? Nate looks at her, his heart pounding. He stands, pulling her into his arms, holding her tightly as if afraid she'll vanish. I only need you, he says, his voice raw with emotion. Everything else I can rebuild. But if I lose you, Sam, I don't know how I'll live. Sam rests her head on his chest, tears streaming down but a smile on her lips. You're such a grumpy Mr. CEO, she whispers, her voice choked. But I love you, Nate, and I'm not going anywhere. They stand there in the office, cluttered with papers and bathed in city lights, holding each other like survivors of a storm. The scandal still rages. The Rivers family remains a threat, but in this moment, they have only each other. Nate kisses her forehead, soft as a promise. We'll get through this, he says. Together. Sam nods, her radiant smile returning. Together, she echoes, and for the first time she feels that love isn't about running or fighting. It's about standing still, beside the person she's chosen, even if the world turns its back. New York in mid-May is draped in a fine mist, as if the city weeps for hearts torn between love and duty. Nathaniel Nate Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Enterprises, stands at his Midtown office window, gazing down at streets aglow with lights. The media scandal headlined CEO Whitmore weds Rivers' heiress to manipulate finances. Rages on, sending his company's stocks into a relentless spiral. Partners pull funding, contracts are canceled, and the pressure from New York's elite feels like a blade at his throat. But what pains Nate most isn't the company. It's the fear of losing Samantha Sam Rivers, the platinum-haired girl with a defiant smile, the only light in his darkened world. Sam, though resilient against her family's wrath and the media's accusations, stands at the greatest crossroads of her life. A secret Nate has kept, a silent sacrifice, is about to change everything, pushing their love to the brink of anguish and reunion. The media scandal doesn't just wound Whitmore Enterprises, it reignites the fury of the Rivers family, Asia's most powerful business dynasty. After the tense confrontation at their Greenwich estate, where Sam declared her choice of Nate despite the consequences, her family doesn't relent. They shift to a ruthless strategy, pressuring Whitmore Enterprises partners to isolate Nate, forcing him to free Sam. Major contracts vanish, investors withdraw, and calls from Nate's trusted allies carry a unified message. Rivers Corporation is behind this. Nate, with his sharp CEO instincts, quickly discerns the Rivers family's hand. Charles Rivers, Sam's father, doesn't just want his daughter back. He wants to teach Nate a lesson. No one defies their power. But Nate says nothing to Sam. He doesn't want her to feel guilty or trapped between him and her family. Each night, he sits in his office, staring at red numbers on the screen, wondering if he can protect Sam without forcing her into a painful choice. Meanwhile, the Rivers family escalates their pressure on Sam. One morning, she receives an email from her mother, Eleanor. "Return immediately, Samantha. If you stay with Nate Whitmore, you'll lose your inheritance and all ties to the family. Do you want to be homeless, nameless?" Attached is a legal document declaring Sam's disinheritance if she doesn't divorce Nate within a week. Sam reads the email, her hands trembling, but her eyes remain resolute. She doesn't fear losing wealth. She never needed it. But the thought of being permanently severed from her family, controlling as they are, stabs at her heart. They're her parents, the ones who held her as a child, though those memories now fade. Sitting on the penthouse sofa, neon lights flickering around her, she wonders, can I give up everything for Nate, or will I regret losing my family forever? Nate, in his office swamped with documents and urgent calls, realizes the Rivers Corporation's pressure threatens not just his company, but Sam's happiness. He knows she craves freedom, having fled her family to live authentically. He can't let her be caught between him and them, can't let her choose between love and her closest kin. But confronting Rivers Corporation directly is futile. They're too powerful. Nate needs another way, a way to give Sam freedom without dragging her into his war. After sleepless nights, Nate sees an opportunity, a billion-dollar contract with Global Nexus, an international conglomerate that could save Whitmore Enterprises. But there's a catch. Global Nexus is closely tied to Rivers Corporation. Nate learns that signing the deal would let Rivers leverage their influence to force Sam back, threatening her with her inheritance and family ties. They've prepared a new smear campaign against Nate to pressure Sam into choosing, divorce him or lose everything. Nate faces the most agonizing choice of his life. The contract is his company's lifeline, a chance to rebuild what's lost. But signing it would trap Sam in a new cage, a choice between him and her family, between love and freedom. After a long night staring at Manhattan's lights, Nate decides. He quietly cancels the Global Nexus contract, accepting the risk of Whitmore Enterprises' collapse. He tells Sam nothing, not wanting her to feel guilty or trapped. He just wants her free, even if it means losing her. Before acting, Nate writes a letter, placing it in a white envelope on Sam's desk. He writes, "Sam, I don't want you bound, not by me or your family. You deserve freedom, to live as you've always wanted. If you need to leave, I won't hold you back. But know that I love you, and I'll always love you, wherever you are. Nate." He leaves the letter, unaware it will spark a greater turning point in their story. Sam finds the letter one afternoon, returning from a walk in Central Park, seeking clarity amid her chaotic thoughts. She opens the envelope, reads Nate's words, and tears stream down her cheeks. She knows what he's doing, protecting her, freeing her, even if it breaks him. But she doesn't want freedom if it means losing him. She calls an old contact of Nate's, someone who worked with Whitmore Enterprises, to uncover the truth. After some hesitation, the contact reveals, Nate canceled the Global Nexus deal, Sam. It was the last chance to save the company, but he refused because Rivers Corporation was using it to force you back. He said he couldn't let you lose your family, couldn't let you be trapped. Sam stands frozen, clutching the phone. Nate, who once coldly swore off love, has gambled his life to protect her. She rushes from the penthouse, taking only Nate's letter, and hails a taxi to his office. But there, his assistant, Emily, tells her, voice anxious, "He just left for JFK Airport. He said he needed to give you space to decide." Sam feels her heart shatter. Nate is leaving, not because he doesn't love her, but because he loves her too much. She races outside, hailing another taxi, shouting, "To JFK as fast as you can." Before reaching the airport, Sam knows she must do one last thing. She asks the driver to stop at a nearby hotel where her father, Charles Rivers, is meeting partners. She storms into the conference room, unannounced, platinum hair disheveled, eyes red but blazing with resolve. The partners gape, but Charles just stares, his gaze icy. "Here to apologize?" he asks, voice low. "No," Sam replies, her voice ringing through the silent room. "I'm here to say I'm not coming back. I love Nate, and I choose him, even if the world turns its back. I don't need the inheritance, the reputation. I need him, and I won't let you or anyone take him from me." Charles looks at her, his eyes flickering briefly. "You'll regret this, Samantha," he says, but his tone lacks its former edge. "I'd regret not living true to my heart," Sam replies, turning to leave. She doesn't look back, but stepping out of the hotel, she feels lighter than ever. She's chosen, and this time, it's her choice, no one else's. At JFK Airport, Nate stands at check-in, a London ticket in hand. He doesn't plan to leave New York forever, just to give Sam space to decide, to keep her from feeling trapped. But his heart is heavy, each step like a stab. He glances at his watch, ready to pass security, when a voice cuts through the airport's din. "Nate!" He turns, and there's Sam running through the crowd, platinum hair flying, eyes red but radiant. She crashes into him, hugging him tightly, shouting, "You idiot! You think I'd let you go that easily?" Nate freezes, his hands trembling as he holds her back, tight enough to fear she'll vanish. "Sam," he whispers, voice choked. "I thought I'd lost you." Sam pulls back, looking into his eyes, tears falling, but a radiant smile on her lips. "Lose me? Mr. Whitmore, you'd have to try harder to get rid of me." She holds up his letter, voice trembling. "You think I want freedom without you? My freedom is here, with you, no matter what happens." Nate stares at her, and for the first time, tears roll down his cheeks. He pulls her close, kissing her in the crowded airport, deep and fierce, as if the world has vanished. The crowd pauses, some clapping, but Nate and Sam hear nothing. They hear only each other's heartbeats and the silent vow they'll never part. The media scandal hasn't ended, and Rivers Corporation remains a formidable force. But Nate and Sam, their love forged through fire, are ready to face anything. Nate, who once lived for revenge, now lives for the girl holding his hand. Sam, who fled every bond, now stands still, beside the man she loves. New York, with its ever-burning lights, witnesses a love that triumphs over every trial. And Nate knows that, whatever the future holds, he and Sam will write their story together. A story not just of revenge or freedom, but of true love. New York in early June blazes with sunlight, as if the city is celebrating a love story that has weathered every storm. Nathaniel Nate Whitmore and Samantha Sam Rivers, once strangers bound by a fake marriage contract, have found each other amid Manhattan's neon lights, sudden rainstorms, and the brutal trials of a media scandal. The uproar over Nate marrying Sam to manipulate finances has begun to fade, but the pressures from the Rivers family and the losses at Whitmore Enterprises have left scars. Yet Nate and Sam, with their fierce love and silent sacrifices, have proven they are stronger than any tempest. Today they stand at the threshold of a new chapter, one free of contracts, revenge, or running, defined only by true love and heartfelt promises. And this time, Sam's family, once a barrier, will become part of the happiness they share. The media scandal, though less intense, lingers in New York's high society whispers. Tabloids continue to speculate about Nate and Sam's motives, labeling them the scandalous couple or a fabricated romance. Sam, with her defiant spirit, usually scoffs at these stories, but she knows that without action, the slander will forever shadow them. She wants the world to know the truth, not for fame, but because her love with Nate deserves to be defended. One morning, Sam strides into Nate's Midtown office, where he's meeting advisors to salvage canceled contracts. She wears a simple white dress, her platinum hair tied high, eyes blazing with resolve. "I want to hold a press conference," she declares, her voice firm. Nate looks up, his piercing blue eyes flickering with surprise. "A press conference? Sam, you don't have to do this. We'll get through it." "No, Nate," Sam replies, stepping forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for us. I want the world to know I love you. Not for money, not for power, but because you're you." Nate gazes at her, his heart warming at her determination. He nods, taking her hand. "All right, together." The press conference is held at the Plaza Hotel, the very place where Nate was humiliated when Victoria betrayed him. Now he stands there, not for revenge, but to protect his love. Sam steps to the podium, facing dozens of reporters and flashing cameras, the lights like a starry sky. She has no prepared speech, no notes. She looks straight at the crowd, her voice clear and powerful. "I am Samantha Rivers, and I love Nathaniel Whitmore. Not for money, not for power, not for any contract. I love him because he makes me laugh, because he stands by me through every storm, and because he sacrificed everything to protect me. I won't let anyone tear us apart. Not my family, not the media, not the entire world." The room falls silent, save for the clicking of cameras. Nate stands behind her, his eyes shimmering with pride and love. A reporter raises a hand asking, "Aren't you afraid of losing your Rivers Corporation inheritance?" Sam laughs, the defiant smile Nate fell for on day one. "I don't need an inheritance to be happy. I just need him." The press conference ends with applause, and Nate and Sam's story spreads swiftly. No longer a scandal, but a romance that moves all of New York. More crucially, it reaches the Rivers family. Charles and Eleanor Rivers, though initially furious, watched the broadcast. They saw Sam, their daughter who fled their gilded cage, standing resolute and radiant beside the man she loves. They know of Nate's sacrifice, abandoning the billion-dollar global Nexus deal to protect Sam's freedom. Though reluctant to admit it, they can't deny the sincerity of their love. A week later, Sam receives a brief but meaningful letter from her mother. "We won't interfere anymore. Live the life you've chosen, Samantha. We want to attend your wedding." Charles writes nothing, but Rivers Corporation's cessation of pressure on Nate's partners speaks volumes. The Rivers family, however grudgingly, has accepted Sam's right to shape her own life, and they want to witness her happiness. Nate and Sam decide to hold a second wedding, not for show, but to celebrate their love. They choose a small beach in the Hamptons, where waves lap gently and the sunset paints the sky gold. Only close friends attend, no media, no elite guests. But this time there's a special presence, Charles and Eleanor Rivers. Sam, though surprised by her mother's confirmation, agrees to their attendance, not for family prestige, but because she wants them to see her true joy. Sam walks out in a simple white dress, her platinum hair loose, barefoot on the sand. Nate, in a white shirt and linen pants, waits for her, his blue eyes sparkling like the sea. When she reaches him, he takes her hand, whispering, "You're more beautiful than my dreams, Sam." She grins, winking. "Not bad yourself, grumpy Mr. CEO." In the front row, Eleanor wipes tears, while Charles, though stern, nods slightly as Sam glances their way. Their presence is not just acceptance, but a silent apology for the years they tried to control her. Meeting her mother's eyes, Sam feels a knot in her heart unravel. She doesn't need them to define her happiness, but having them here, witnessing this moment, makes her heart fuller. Their vows are unscripted, needing no paper. Sam looks at Nate, her voice trembling but brimming with emotion. "Nathaniel Whitmore, I once thought love was a luxury, a cage I had to escape. But you showed me how much it's worth. You're my home, my freedom, and I want to be with you forever. Nate grips her hand, his eyes glistening. Samantha Rivers, I promise to love you, protect you, and make you laugh every day, no matter how much you tease me. I once lived for revenge, but now I live for you, and I'll spend my life proving you're the best thing that ever happened to me. They exchange simple silver rings engraved with each other's names and kiss under the sunset, amid friends' applause and laughter. Eleanor stands hugging Sam for the first time in years, whispering, I'm proud of you. Charles, silent, places a hand on Nate's shoulder, a rare gesture of respect. The waves murmur like a blessing, and Nate knows that, no matter how painful the past, he's found his future in Sam's sparkling brown eyes. After the wedding, Nate and Sam escape New York's clamor for a Caribbean island. Under a fiery sunset, Sam plays a soft Lumineers ballad from her phone and pulls Nate into a dance on the sand. Nate, clumsy at anything non-business, steps on her toes 3 times. You're awful, grumpy Mr. CEO, Sam laughs, her eyes twinkling. Nate holds her closer, whispering, but you still love me, right? Sam rests her head on his shoulder, voice soft. Love you no matter how many times you step on my toes. They dance, imperfect but complete, under a starry sky, and Nate knows this is a happiness he never dared dream of. Back in New York, they pursue Sam's dream, opening a free dance class for kids in a small suburban town. Sam, with boundless energy and a radiant smile, teaches hip-hop and waltz, while Nate, initially just a sponsor, gets roped in, awkwardly dancing with the kids. You're worse than the children, Sam teases, but her eyes brim with love seeing Nate laugh, free and happy like never before. Their life is never short of hilarious moments. One morning, Sam sneaks into Nate's Whitmore Enterprises office, covering his whiteboard with colored markers. Dumbest husband of the year, with a giant heart. Nate, entering the next morning, is both annoyed and amused, calling her instantly. You're cleaning this, Samantha, he growls over the phone. Sam, laughing from the other end, retorts, only if you catch me, grumpy. Another time, strolling in Central Park, Sam stops to pet a neighbor's dog, cooing, so cute. Nate beside her mutters, I'm cuter than that dog. Sam turns, hugging him, laughing until tears fall. Jealous of a dog? You're unbeatable, Nate Whitmore. Sam also challenges Nate to a commoner day to understand the masses. They rent an old pickup truck, and Nate, used to luxury cars, struggles with the gear shift, jerking the truck repeatedly. Stopping for Pat sandwiches at a food cart, he spills sauce on his shirt, and Sam laughs hysterically, snapping a photo to preserve the historic moment. I wasn't born for this, Nate grumbles, but when Sam kisses his cheek, he smiles, forgetting all woes. Nate and Sam, once strangers with separate goals, revenge and escape, found each other in the most unexpected moments. They overcame scandals, family pressures, and past scars to write their own story. The Rivers' presence at the wedding wasn't just acceptance, but a bridge mending the rift between Sam and her family. New York, with its ever-burning lights, bears witness to their love. A love that not only conquered every trial, but brought laughter, dances, and simple, joyful days. Nate, who once lived for vengeance, now lives to make Sam smile. Sam, who fled every tie, now stands still beside the man she loves, with her family behind her. Not to control, but to love. And under sunsets, on sandy beaches, or in their neon-lit penthouse, they know they found home, not in a place, but in each other's hearts.